Hello, and welcome to Digital Ascendancy, a Powerland info podcast series. Here on Digital Ascendancy, we are championing transformative digital solutions. This series of podcasts is all about providing knowledge on IT solutions in an easy-to-understand format. Today on Digital Ascendancy, we are joined by Gaelan and Stephen Stronach. Hi, guys. How are you today?
Doing well. How are you?
Great. How are you?
It's great to hear. Today, folks, we will have a roundtable discussion on hybrid and remote learning and the accessibility features of Microsoft Education Suite, the security features that keep students and educators safe, and the modern management tools that keep it all running smoothly. Now that the introductions are out of the way, let's get the ball rolling with some questions. So Gaelan, what's your position at Microsoft?
Hey, Mario. Thanks for having us today. I have the pleasure to join you from Toronto, Canada. My name is Gaelan Love. I use the pronouns he and him. And for those who are listening to this podcast and cannot see the screen, I have got long COVID hair going and a pink shirt. And I had the pleasure of working with Microsoft and school boards and higher institutions across Canada unlock learning with the tools they already have access to, which include Microsoft 365 and Windows 10 devices.
Great. Stephen, introduce yourself to the public.
Sure, yeah. So Steve Stronach, I'm coming to you live and direct from Montreal today. I did spend about 14 years in Toronto. So I've been in the IT business, specifically around devices for, I hate to say it, but over 22 years, right? Back when they were 7 pounds, had wheels, and they rolled with a handle. But I've worked across basically almost all the tier 1 hardware manufacturers. So IBM, Lenovo, HP, and now Microsoft, focused on devices. So I love devices. I love being part of the Canadian education team, working every day with Gaelan, working with great, intelligent, passionate people that love education, right? At the end of the day, I'm really focused on being a trusted business advisor for our education customers and helping them make the right decisions around what best devices fit their learning environment.
Wow, amazing. So, Gaelan, let me ask you a question.
Sure.
Students have adapted to some drastic changes to the traditional classroom, and we know that every learner needs different resources to achieve their learning goals. What is your favorite accessibility feature on a Windows 10 device and its impact for every learner?
Yeah, that's a great question. It really comes down to some of our thoughts on accessibility being baked into all Microsoft products. We definitely see that in the past, you had to adapt to the world around you, and in particular, the technology. But in the future, with AI and how we're building our technology, including Windows 10 and Microsoft 365, the world is going to adapt to you. The technology is going to adapt to your specific needs. So we are continually building and reiterating on Windows 10 and anchoring the design from our engineering team on our design principles, which is to recognize exclusion, to solve for one, but extend to many, and to learn from diversity. And this ensures that accessibility is built in and not just bolted onto Windows 10. Accessibility is top of mind in how we build and continually iterate on Windows 10, and we are committed to making Windows 10 a platform for personalized learning for every learner and provide accessibility features right out of the box. Empower every student in your classroom, regardless of their abilities or learning preferences, with a robust set of built-in, non-stigmatizing tools and third-party accessibility features. Every Windows device can be tailored to an individual student's needs. Simply hit the Windows button in the bottom left corner of your device, if it's a Windows 10 device, and simply type in EASE, E-A-S-E. You'll be taken to the ease of access menu within Windows 10. And from this single menu, you can adjust a lot of the settings within your device, whether it be the contrast, the magnifier, the narrator, a lot of features that help make that device tailored to the individual student's needs. And this can be done by an educator or a parent or a student. But what is really exciting is that there are 1.3 billion Windows 10 devices, which has attracted a whole platform of other accessibility features that other companies are building on top of Windows 10. One such is with Tobii eye tracking. So a simple bar, for those who can see it, I got it here. There, kind of hovering over me. It can be mounted under your monitor or on your laptop or tablet, and it allows students with physical disabilities to use the keyboard with just their gaze, which is a really exciting advancement, allowing and unlocking the power of technology to aid every student's learning journey, whether they have 10 digits that are all functioning on their hands, because they can now use their eyes, which is just a fantastic advancement.
That's great to hear, especially with today's current landscape. So let me throw out a question to both of you. As schools move into a hybrid model of education, security and privacy is a major consideration for every school board's IT team. What's top of mind for these decision makers, and what solutions does Windows 10 provide to ensure that students are safe when learning remotely?
I think the big thing here is that as school boards across Canada and across the world were trying to adjust their learning environments from in-person to remote and now going over to hybrid, it's understanding the tools that you may already have access to and understanding how they can actually be working for you and learning more about them. So Microsoft 365, for instance, includes many tools like Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Teams, but also Minecraft Education Edition. And for IT, they can manage all these apps, but also the identities of these student users, the networks they're managing, but also devices, whether it be on Windows 10, iOS, Mac, and Android, all within a single management console. So I think the really important thing here to create secure and safe learning environments, it's got to be simple for IT. Having multiple different panes and multiple different management consoles for security infrastructure is bound to result in human error.
Stephen, anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, Gaelan hit it on the head here. I think the really key points are secured learning environment, and I think that applies more now than ever before with all this pandemic thing going on, right? The ability to have kids learning at home in a different, unknown, potentially untrusted network environment and still keep them safe, right? So in addition to all the great things that Gaelan called out, and by the way, I think it's fantastic that all of these features are baked right in. Like, yeah. This isn't, when we think of this is a platform, this is a complete solution. It's not something where we've got a baseline where we're going to keep bolting things on and we might miss something due to human nature. Everything's already built in the box, right? And when we talk about some of the extra features, things like Edge, users may not have tried the new Edge, even though it's based on a Chromium browser. Like, the new Edge is fantastic. When you think of what your kids surf through, what they access, tracking prevention, things like advertising, where's their data going? What are they looking at? These are the things that Microsoft, we're not an advertising company, right? We're a teaching and learning and device solutions company, right? That we're worried about these things. We're worried about, I'm worried as a parent. Where are my kids going, or what's their data using? Do any search on the web and load up your favorite social media tool, and suddenly you're being advertised exactly what you searched for 30 seconds ago. It's scary, right? So having a control over something like Edge that allows you to keep that protection in place is fantastic. Also, parents with Windows can actually create family groups to manage time. I've got 3 kids, and if I leave them to their own devices, they'll be on their Xboxes or surfing the web 12 hours a day, probably late into the night, long after I've gone to bed, right? So the ability to not only get a report every week to say, here's what your kids looked at, but also to say, well, here's what you can let them look at or not, and here's when you can let them use the device or not, so that you're saying, okay, until you get home from school and you finish your homework, by after dinner, now you can go on the internet. Controls like that. And I think finally, one of the really big pieces, and it's an unsung hero in the education space, is our Shape the Future program. I don't think there's a lot of, despite the fact that it's been around for a long time, there isn't a lot of knowledge from IT purchasers around Shape the Future program. This is a deeply, deeply discounted Windows licensing program for Microsoft, specifically targeted for education K-12 space. But the really important thing here is that it's a tweaked version of Windows Pro. So while you're getting all this really great Windows 10 professional domain joining functionality like you would for an enterprise grade operating system, you're also getting tweaks for education. Things like advertising being removed, things like start menu suggestions being removed, advertising blocking, and things even like our own Cortana, which we like. We like Cortana as a tool, not in education. We don't want kids in grade 2 and grade 3 having a suggestion, hey, have you tried killing aliens in Gears of War? No, we don't want that. We don't want those pop-ups. We want them to have a clean, sanitized learning experience without any of that outside distracting influence. So I think those tools combined with all of our other ones that Gaelan mentioned really makes this a safe and secure and enjoyable platform for kids and teachers to use.
Yeah, and Steve, I want to call out here that sometimes killing aliens can take place in the learning environment.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. I think what's really important here is that a lot of school boards do have access to Microsoft 365 today. And while there's a lot of great features we're all aware of, like the apps I mentioned, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Minecraft Education Edition is an unsung hero, and it's people are beginning to sing its praises more and more. In response to COVID-19, we've seen the adoption of Minecraft, in particular in Canada. The specific education license that's already available to many students across Canada has exploded. And we're hearing tremendous feedback from educators and how that they're able to create collaborative, inclusive classrooms digitally within a Minecraft world, which is absolutely incredible to hear. So to take it back to your question initially, Mario, I think the big thing here is understanding the technology you already have access to. I think some of the security features that Steve and I just mentioned, a lot of folks may not be aware that you already have access to these things. So before you go out trying to procure new security solutions for your school board or higher ed institution, take a look at what you already have access to in Microsoft 365 and rest assured that it'll be simple to manage because it's all from a single trusted vendor.
And definitely one little tip on Minecraft, since I'm a huge avid Minecraft fan. If you're deploying the classroom, turn off TNT. Because if you don't, the first time little back of the class will go blow everything up absolutely. So make sure you turn off TNT.
That's amazing. So, Stephen, since devices are essential for remote and hybrid learning, and getting these devices to each student can be tedious, what are education IT teams saying about Autopilot and modern management for Windows 10 devices?
Fantastic question, and I think it's it's critically important. I think that we understand modern device management as it exists today, and I'm a testament to it. And I'm almost I've been around so long. I've seen all the iterations, and I've seen the growth of it from no management to what we have today, and it's vital, right? I think when we look at the two key components of device deployment and management, we're talking here about Autopilot and Intune, two technologies. Certainly, Autopilot very new, very early days. Very limited in its current use, right? And that's something that we want to help drive adoption on, because I think when you take these two tools and a modern device, your IT teams are going to see that they're hugely easier to use. They're going to make their lives infinitely more painless on this modern deployment and management. I think a lot of us fall into a rut of doing what we're used to doing and how things worked in the past. So when we look at a lot of our existing traditional modern management tools, they function great around higher end i5, i7, heavier end devices. Now, we all know in education, budget's what constrains us on devices. So we tend to look at more lower cost, lower end specifications, those Celerons and Pentiums. Now, if we try to take one of these new modern classroom devices that we're really excited about, and we try to deploy them with some of our older tools, the problem is the experience isn't fantastic, right? It seems slow, it's laggy, the boot time's hard, it's difficult to image. Like, there's a lot of challenges there. So I think we do ourselves a disservice by investing in a great new modern platform and then trying to deploy it with older tools. And the good news is Microsoft is here to help. So not only do we create these tools, but Gaelan and I spend our days evangelizing and helping people learn how to actually use them and deploy this technology. So I think as a modern management solution, they're fantastic. When you think about it, you can actually now, from an IT perspective, take that device, buy it, receive it, ship it right to your educator, right to your administrator, even right to your student in some cases, in the higher grades, and they get that rich out-of-box experience, that personalization piece of this is what we like. We like unboxing. We like setting up our own devices. The benefit there is, through the deployment process, it gets placked on like Lego. Like, okay, here's your security component, here's your website component, here's your shared drives component, here's the apps that you need, right in front of their faces. So by the time they're done, one, they've received a device that is already up to date, but two, is already configuring itself for their learning and teaching environment. And this is the way of the future. Like, if we don't adapt to these new technologies, or we're afraid sometimes to adapt to these technologies, we're really hindering our future, and we're making it really difficult on ourselves. Because I'd like to think, and I'm sure Gaelan would agree, that if we can empower IT and learning, teachers, technologies, to help them better deploy and faster deploy, they'll have time for other things. They'll have time to create fantastic learning plans. They'll have time to pilot new things like Minecraft, for example, right? If we can free up some of those resources and cycles and make it less tedious, I think everybody wins at the end, and I think it becomes a better learning experience at the end of the day.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, freeing up time. We're all so constrained on what we're working on, how much time it takes to do things. The more we can have automation take care of a lot of the tedious, repetitive tasks, it allows IT and marketers like myself to focus on more impactful things to drive your objectives. But Stephen, a really important question here, I think people will be asking is there an added cost to this, to have Autopilot and this modern management console? And I think the important thing here is if you have Microsoft 365 and you're buying the right device, it's already included. There's no extra cost for these things. It's something that you can adopt today, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think definitely from an Intune perspective, look, a lot of people with their M365 licensing, much like we talked about Minecraft, you have it already. So going out and procuring another MDM solution, even for your iPads, like I've seen some of the contracts for iPad management, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars for large boards. It's like, you've already got that. Let us help you deploy it. Take that tens of thousands of dollars, drive it into better learning outcomes, drive it into school supplies, drive it into better resources, drive it into something else that's going to help you teach kids.
Buy more devices for every student to have it for learning.
More devices too, yeah, definitely. And I mean, I think that's really the key to what you're playing. Now, from an Autopilot perspective, we can certainly do it ourselves. There are some fees associated from a manufacturer's perspective if we want their help in doing it. But again, we're here to help. If you've got a large board and you're looking to deploy technologies like this, come talk to us. We'll make it work for you at no cost to you. Like we'll make it work.
That's amazing. So unfortunately, we're out of time. Thank you, Gaelan and Stephen, for joining us today. The information you gave was extremely valuable and very insightful.
Thank you for having us. Really appreciate the opportunity to talk with you and all your podcast listeners about learning more about how Microsoft can help unlock creativity in every student across Canada and the world.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, again, we're here to help. I'm here as a trusted advisor. I want to help people make the right decisions. If you need to reach out to me, Steve, STEVEST at Microsoft.com. Always here 24/7 getting emails. So reach out to me. It'll be my pleasure.
And I'm a glove at Microsoft.com, like a baseball glove at Microsoft. Hard to forget that one.
I like that one.
And if there's any further questions or interests that you have in actually getting these things through Powerland or more information, you can visit powerland.ca/Microsoft or contact us at info@powerland.ca. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks, Mario.
Take care.
Thank you for listening. Like and subscribe for more videos from Powerland, and remember to hit the notification button to get the latest videos from Powerland when they come out. Follow us on social media at Powerland_CA on Twitter, Powerland Canada on LinkedIn, and Powerland CA on Facebook to hear about the latest and greatest in IT solutions.